At this point, we've taken a look at most of the features that are going to be necessary to do your basic layout. And obviously, we've been primarily focusing on the 2D work, and we're going to now do some exercises. What I suggest is that you watch the exercise, turn the video off, do it yourself, come back, look at my approach. I may do some of these exercises a few times to give you a couple different strategies. I'll talk you through it all the way. And over time, you'll find that this just becomes a lot more natural and something you can do without thinking too much. I want to give you a couple of important points before you start this. Obviously, at first, it's going to be frustrating and slow and tedious. And over time, you're going to get faster and faster. Put in the time, because getting fast makes using ArchiCAD a lot more fun. Another important idea that I'd like to share with you is that ArchiCAD is a two-handed program. You have to have one on the keyboard and one on the mouse. Make sure that you are utilizing the keyboard and the mouse both effectively. If you're holding up your chin with one arm and you got your mouse on the hand on the other, your other hand on the mouse, you're going to find that it's just clunky. You really do have to be ready. This will, when you get good at this and it becomes second nature, it's going to be like playing the piano, and things will just happen and it'll be very automatic and reflexive, and it's a lot more fun when you get to that stage. The other point that I'd like to make is that when you are doing these exercises, I really believe that you should talk yourself through the clicks and the mouse, and I'll show you how I do that. I'll talk you through it. If you're able to, literally speak it out loud. It's going to help you to remember. It's like learning how to dance. If you count out your steps and you find your rhythm, then you'll find that you can remember the steps a lot more easily than if you're just trying to do it without talking yourself through it. You'll see what I mean when we get through this. Well, let's get started. I went ahead and found some exercises. You can download these backgrounds for your own reference. I printed them out, and I'm going to copy the first one on to the page here. And I'm going to select, so I just copied, I use the snip tool in Windows. I select the region, puts it on the clipboard. I just paste it into ArchiCAD. Now this is coming in at whatever scale it's coming in. I don't really know what it is. There's a unitless figure. We're going to just assume feet to make it easy. So I'll go ahead and expand it so that it's close to full scale, just visually scaling it up. The shortcut is Control R. We want to define graphically, so we'll hit OK. And what you can do is we'll just go zoom in here. Make sure you're zooming. Don't move your head towards the screen. Move the screen towards you. Move your work towards you. That's why we use CAD. So I'm rolling in and out with the wheel. When I hold the wheel and I drag, that pans around, and wherever my cursor is, that's where it's going to zoom in. So move to the point where you want to zoom into and roll your wheel. So work big, keep it simple. I'm going here. I'm holding shift. I'm zooming in. I'm going roughly to the center of that line. This is a bitmap image, so it's a raster file, not a vector file, so it's not snappable. But then after I do that, I can type in the value, and in this case, it's 140 feet, which is the assumption, and I'll click. And now it looks the same, but it's bigger. If I go in and zoom, if I hit my M for measure, get in here, and in here you'll see that, you know, within reasonable amount of tolerance, just the visual tolerance, I'm roughly the right size. And this can be a good way to work when you are trying to duplicate a molding or something else. Often I'll take a piece of molding and drop it on top of my scanner, make a scan, bring it into the computer, measure one key dimension and hold that dimension exactly, and then I'll get the contour of the molding or the tile or whatever it happens to be, a nice approximation of it. And we'll work on that in another video. So this is basically the same size. And the strategy I'm going to take with this is I'm going to ignore all these fillets at first. I'm just going to do square corners. We'll come back and fillet it later. And we can just kind of march around, and that's the easiest thing to do. We'll start down at this corner. I'm going to click L for line. I'm going to go up, and I'm snapping to my y-axis because I have my snap guides enabled, so I don't have to hold the shift. I can just type 100, and then I move along. I type 50. That's this dimension here. I go up 20. I go over 120. I go down to this corner, which is aligned here. I go over 30. I go down 100 again. Come over 30. Notice these guidelines are pretty helpful. It's giving me a lot of good feedback. 20. Now I'm going to hold this shift just to show you the difference. So now I'm holding shift. Not working. There it is. And I click up. I can hold shift, click, and click. And I've closed this figure. I've got this shape down. So I've got the overall shape complete. I'm not going to do my fillets yet because I'm going to use these as reference. I have I can kind of infer that this is 10, in our case, feet. So I'm going to shift. I'm holding shift, selecting the line, hitting F9 to copy, moving on the far side into the direction I want to move it. I type 10, enter. And now I'll go ahead and just do that again. Come down, I'll go 20. And that gives me these two lines. I'll copy this one, F9, come over 10. And I have a couple of options available to me now. I can see that it's 40 wide. I'll just go ahead and finish this off at 40. These align. I can use the control key, so I'm holding control and I'm just going to clip these out. That's just a nice, clean, easy to understand process. Now I can take this entire thing. I held shift to get my arrow. I box selected. And now I want to move these down. And the assumption is that these are 10 units, so I need to go down 30. So I'll do F5. Control Alt. Control Alt gives me these two, this multiple copy. I can come down 30, and then I can come down 60. And now I've got all three of these boxes ready to go. And I'll just do the fillets afterwards. They're all the same size fillets. And come back and do some measuring just to make sure, yep, everything looks nice. That's 20, that's 30. I kind of use my downtime when I'm thinking. I just go around and measure and make sure I didn't make any mistakes. Now this is 80 units and it's centered along this guy and it's 20 down. So I'll do an F9, come down 20, F9 again, come down 25. And now I have some choices. The easiest choice would be to go ahead and, now I'm not seeing my, I'll turn on my tick marks here. And I want to be between nodes. And so now have my halfway points being highlighted. It's between this overall line. I'm assuming that this shape is centered within this shape. And I can do a couple of tricks here. So I have my guidelines going, but they're not going to give me any information because I'm not on an endpoint. So the easy way is to just run a construction point. I can clip this. I hold shift, select this, hit F5, and I move it 40. F9 to move it back 80. Again, that's really the most straightforward approach, and it doesn't take too much mental processing to get that to work. I can take this, copy this, F9, bring this down. Now I'm going to show you, I'm going to do this a couple times using a couple different techniques. The first one is just I move it, and then I hit F5 again for my move, click, and I come up here 20, and there's my box, 20 from the bottom, but I need to be 50. This one was 25. So I can box select this and use my pet palette to extend this. I can go up 25. And now I have a box that's 25, 20 from the bottom rather, and 50 here. Now let's try that another approach. So another way to do this would be to do an F9, move this down, and instead of copying it to this location and then moving it, I can use the user origin. So I'm hit Shift Alt, and I did that kind of at a nice quick press of pressing both of them at the same time and kind of fast. It's a little tricky sometimes, it doesn't want to stick. And then I can type 20, and then that took out one whole step. I didn't have to copy it and then move it. I was able to copy it, use this as a reference, and move it back up, and then I can use the same strategy here to bring this up 25. Notice that it's using this, it's repeating the same command on the pet palette. So now I can just type 25, and that's really fast. The other thing I can do, and I want to use, you know, as many tricks as I can. Here I'm going to draw a circle. I'm going to draw this circle. I'm going to hit select it with Shift and select F5, Control Alt gives me my multiple copy. And now I'm going to select those there. And now I have 3 circles. And now I'm going to move them with F5. And I'm going to come over here and I'll use my trick. I used my Shift Alt so that I moved my user origin, and I can type 10 in that direction. And now I have my circles because I know all these circles were aligned with the squares. Now I just have to go through and do some quick fillets. And if I select all of these lines, and I hit fillet, and I want a fillet of 10. It did all of them at once for me. Missed one, so I'll come here. I'm holding Shift and selecting both of those, hit fillet. I can just enter, it remembers the radius. And I think I have a couple more. I'm holding Shift, selecting from right to left. Again, make sure that you have this directional dependent selection going for you. I'm going to select these two. Oops. So I didn't want to select those. I'll reselect them to deselect. And let's see if it'll do all these fillets at once. It didn't. It got all confused. So I undid that, and we're going to have to do this one at a time. Otherwise, it's trying to blend too many. I can do 2 fillets at a time here, no problem. F for fillet, you know, so I'm using my keyboard shortcuts as much as possible, clicking fillet, and OK. And now this figure is completely drawn. So that's kind of a quick and easy way of getting this shape to work for you. And I'm going to take this whole thing and I'm going to move it away, out of the way. And I'm just going to do it again. Oops, I copied it. I didn't really want to copy. Let me delete that. I'm going to do it again and just see if my brain finds, okay, a different approach. Okay, I typed in the wrong number. I accidentally typed 10. One thing I want to show you is to hit backspace. You don't have to clear out of the command. Just hit backspace, type 100. I'm going to do this. I'm going to just march around again. I think that there are other ways of doing this, but I think this is the fastest and takes the least brain power. I can always move this out of my way if I need to. This is 100. I'll line this up to here. Come down 20. And we'll close that up. So another way to do this, I might take this line, F5, Control Alt to get my multiple copy, and I can come over 10, and then I can come over 50. Then I can do the same thing, F5, Control Alt, come down 10, then come down 30. And I can trim these lines, and then I can take those two using Shift to select. I'll do F5, Control Alt again, and I'll come down 30, and I'll come down 60. and then I can trim these out. So many ways to get to the same point, whatever works for you. Another way of modifying these, I could actually come here, move my user origin with Shift Alt, and this is 20, because 20 plus 80 plus 20 is 120. And then I can just stretch this, and I know these are 40, so I need to go another 40 and move this F5. You move my user origin. So moving that user origin is pretty tricky, fun little thing to do. You're going to find that it saves you a lot of time. This time I'm going to bring this down. How do I want to do this? I'll use this little snap tool and see if that works. So I'm snapping. It's not going to work. Okay. So I'll bring this down, bring it up, move it 20, and bring this up 25. So kind of a similar approach. Anyways, just many ways to do it. Find the way that works. I'm sure if I did this again, I'd find a couple of different little tricks to do. And with time and practice, you will be very comfortable to look at this and then work your way right through it. So hope you enjoyed this exercise. The next one's going to be a little bit more challenging, but similar concepts. The layout's going to be a little bit more difficult, but that's what makes it fun. We'll see you then.